r/ask Reddit. Lawyers of Reddit. What are some interesting laws loopholes? In Denmark, if the sea between Sweden and Denmark freezes and a Swede crosses the ice on foot, you're allowed to beat him or her with a stick until they leave. Best part? It's in our constitution, so it's nearly impossible to change it. Shimfs pointed out in a reply that it's not our constitution but just the Danish law. I did some quick searching around and couldn't find a proper source, but I found the explanation for the law. In the winter of 1658, the sea between Denmark and Sweden, Öresund, froze solid enough for the Swedish army to cross. We've always been fighting. Check our history. It's not pretty, and it ended up with Denmark losing a lot of territory. According to everything I can find on the internet, this was what led the Danish king to make this law. Yeah, but why would any Swede risk their life to get to Denmark? Beer. If you kill someone and get rid of the evidence, you won't go to jail. Neat little loophole. But if the police found out you got rid of the evidence, can you be charged with destruction of evidence interfering with a police investigation? Not if you do it before there's an investigation. Someone you're married to can't testify against you about something you told them, even if they wanted to, so feel free to tell your spouse about that time you did something illegal. However, someone you're married to can choose whether or not they want to testify against you about something they actually saw you doing. So only let your spouse watch you do something illegal if you really trust them. Edit. Calm down. Kids, that was a 4 AM alien blue post. Most laws rules vary depending on jurisdiction. It is a general rule. Source. IAAL also. Sorry if I ruined TV for you. I assure you it was neither my intent or my source. And anyway, I'm only on season 2 of Breaking Bad, so thanks for spoiling that for me. We're even now. Edit to California Evidence Code and Plain English Wikipedia. Depending on whether it's civil or criminal, and what the crime is, generally the spouse can't be forced to testify. In some cases, the person who is being testified against can prevent testimony. Sometimes it is up to the spouse who would be testifying. Edit 3. I guarantee I've watched more Law and Order than you. Stop citing it. Hearsay doesn't apply to anything someone being sued tried for a crime says. It's a party admission, like a confession. For example, you think when Det. Benson testifies that the rapist confessed to the crime, the defense attorney can yell, "Objection, hearsay," and have the testimony thrown out. However, communication by the party can still be privileged, such as attorney-client privilege, spousal privilege, doctors, and priests. Law is complicated. Yo, that's why lawyers are often pedantic and terrible. Hey honey, I just trust you so much, and I want to take our relationship to the next level. Or, that's so sweet. What did you have in mind? Wanna watch me kill a homeless guy? Another interesting marriage loophole. A husband and wife can't be arrested for the same crime. Edit. Guys, my lawyer Barry Zuckercon, you can look him up, told me this is true. You'll need to freshen up on your laws. In the UK, the legal age of drinking is 5 as long as there is a guardian present and as long as it is not in a licensed area, pub, club, bar etc. However, a beer garden of a pub doesn't count, so you can legally have a shot of tequila with a toddler while watching the Teletubbies. It's Tequila Toddler Teletubbies Tuesday, folks. Terrific. Not a lawyer, but I do work as a repossession agent. If you have knowledge that the loan company is coming to repossess your car, parking it on the neighbor's property will most likely not allow us to proceed. Contracts don't allow us to repossess from different addresses on the warrant, cause parked at the neighbor's, we can't touch it. I doubt repo men will follow the letter of the law, even if you catch them doing this. It's not like you can bring a case against them. Could your awesome super friend neighbor sue the collection agency for trespassing, though? Apparently there's a bunch involving taxes, but I am not rich enough to know about them. Set up headquarters in Ireland. Set up another office in Netherlands. All sales are done by the Dutch office, with all profits routed to the Irish office. Now you need to open a third office, one which is a tax resident of a tax haven such as, say, Bermuda, but is in Ireland. Transfer all intellectual property to this office. Now the original Irish company can essentially give the money to the one in Bermuda by saying that it is paying royalties, which are untaxed. Congratulations, You are now making money in the EU and paying no tax. Upvote for even mentioning Bermuda. A word of warning. While we may not have taxes, everything costs 3x as much here to make up for it, comma. It's been suggested that it's possible to commit a felony with impunity in the portion of Yellowstone National Park that sits in Idaho. The national park is a federal enclave and does not fall within the jurisdiction of any of the 3 states it inhabits: Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho. When those states were admitted to the Union, they ceded that land to the United States and cannot enforce their laws there. When Congress created the District Court for the District of Wyoming, it decided to place the entirety of Yellowstone Park within that jurisdiction. Here's where things get a little weird. The vicinage clause of the 6th Amendment entitles a defendant to a trial by a jury drawn from the state and district in which the alleged crime occurred. According to the latest U.S. Census, that portion of the park has a population of 0. That is, no one lives in both Idaho and the District of Wyoming. So, if, for example, an individual were to murder someone in the Idaho portion of Yellowstone, he would be hauled off to Cheyenne for presentment once the defendant has been indicted. However, the U.S. attorney would be powerless to try him unless the defendant waived his right to a jury trial or voluntarily submitted to the jurisdiction of the District of Wyoming. To the best of my knowledge, this has never been tested. Edit. Clarity. I now deeply distrust every friend that's invited me to Yellowstone. However, if you travel to that region with the intent of committing a crime, you can still get charged with conspiracy in the state you traveled through from. The guy who paid $16 for a $330,000 house using a loophole that said something along the lines of if a house was abandoned and no one contested it and you moved in and lived in the house for 3 years you had ownership. Edit. Found the article. What you're thinking of is adverse possession, and varies from state to state, but in general requires more than 3 years. 15-20 seems about the norm from what I've read, among other conditions. That again, depend on the state. The state he did it in, Texas, has an abnormally short time requirement. Even so, he could have gotten in some serious trouble had anyone bothered to take action against him before the time ran out. Also, illegal. But from reading the statutes it sounds like his claim would fall under the 5-year rule, rather than the 3 he stated, but I could be wrong about it. Illegal is the best and worst acronym. People should clarify which country their loophole applies in. We're not all in the same country, so we don't have the same laws. If they're too inconsiderate to specify, it means they're from America. This is the most excruciating thread to read as a lawyer. It's kind of like hearing my mother-in-law explain the context of a chain email she just read, which gave false information to begin with and now has been muddled further by her retelling it. Must be legit. I just asked my mute friend to confirm. She didn't dispute it. Massachusetts has 2 ages of consent. 18 if you're virgin, 16 if you're not. Also, self-defense is not a valid legal defense. For those of you confused about this statement, look for Pancake Economics' explanation in the replies. He/she explains it better than I can. http://www.reddit.com/askReddit/comments/12 lawyers of Reddit. What are some interesting C6 yanpf? Your Honor, I took her virginity in self-defense. Denied. How does that work without time travel? In the UK, the monarch can't technically break the law, or at least she can't be prosecuted for it. In other words, to use this loophole, step 1, become monarch. If you are not a Catholic or married to one, you can do it by killing enough people before you are arrested. If you ever want to mail something less than legal, pop it into a USPS first class envelope. According to the mailing standards of the United States Postal Service, federal law dictates that the only person who can open first-class mail is the addressee. This means that the Postal Service and any federal agency cannot inspect such first-class mail. TL. Doctor, no one can inspect first-class mail. No one. Edit. I am not a lawyer, but I can read. http://pe Context DMM 300/133 HTM number 1,041,530 Edit 2. Yes, A judge-issued search warrant does override this. But if you aren't giving probable cause, they have no reason to issue that warrant. I'm just saying from experience that I have sent some questionable materials this way with no issues. Edit 3. Here's a question for the lawyers of Reddit. Say you were mailing a first-class letter with an illicit substance in it. As the sender, you put down a fake name address as the return info. Wouldn't that clear you on charges? Because they cannot prove that you were the one who sent the letter. Edit 4. Normally I don't do the obligatory edit, but when your top comment is concerning interstate drug trafficking and meal fraud, I think you have to. But Obama can order to kill addressee. This is essentially true, but a judge can issue a search warrant on the mail and it can be opened. The trick is that it can't be opened without a court order. FedEx or UPS packages can be opened by anyone. They don't have the same privacy guarantee as USPS mail. For the love of God, people, state your country and legal jurisdiction. The last thing we need is people seeing this shit and thinking they can do it. Believe it or not, people are that dumb, only for it to be the law of a different country. You're right, I was just about to beat this Russian guy a stick who's trying to cross to Alaska on foot. I'm not a lawyer, but nice try, Julian Assange. The fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. Essentially, if the state conducts an illegal search, any subsequent fruit of the illegal search is inadmissible. Best example is Wong Sun v. United States. Government did a legal search of A incriminated B. Police went to B and found drugs. B then incriminated C, the supplier. Police went to C. C invited police in to discuss. C then went to the station and made a voluntary confession. Supreme Court found that A and B were protected by 4th Amendment exclusionary rule. C would have been had he not gone to police station to voluntarily confess. If this seems confusing, read the case for more confusion. Dude, you thought you were getting a conviction? You as Wong Sun. What I found interesting as a law student is how little liability waivers actually do. Basically, you can always sue someone, liability waiver or not. If it's their fault, it's their fault. Open bracket. It gets a little more complicated. Scope of consent, etc. But yeah, a lot looser than you think. Can't disclaim negligence. That's the crux of it. Arizona taxpayers fuming over $200 million boondoggle alternative fuel tax credit offer backfires on state. In 2000, people in Arizona were getting up to an $18,000 tax credit on the purchase of an SUV or truck. Oh hey, that reminds me. Remember the tax credit for electric vehicles? Is based on number of hours a battery held its charge. This led to golf carts getting about the same tax rebate as a full-fledged car. All you needed to do was make it street legal with turn signals, mirrors, and seat belts. A new standard cart like that was basically free. TL. Doctor, if you paid more than $5,000 a year in taxes a couple years ago, you could have had a free golf cart. Buy golf carts. Make street legal. Free golf carts. Hang out at country club. Self-sell golf carts. Profit. In India, pay a cop and you're free. Pretty neat loophole. Edit. An example, look at Jessica Lal case. Edit. In Russia, cop bribes you. In terms of loopholes, my criminal law professor was also a practicing criminal defense barrister, and he told this story about a case he had won. The event happened in the city of Jervis Bay in Australia, which is notable because it's an annexed part of federal land so that our capital territory can have an active port. My professor's client had gotten into a fight on the beach and, in knee-deep water, proceeded to beat the shit out of the guy he was fighting. Assault charges were laid and it went to court. My professor managed to find that, at the time, the delineation of the federal land around Jervis Bay ended at the high water mark. Also, at that time, the delineation of the coastal region belonging to the state ended at the low water mark. He managed to show that, because the crime had happened in between these 2 points, neither the state or federal court had jurisdiction to try the client, and he got off. Obviously the definitions were amended after that so that there would not be such a gap, but that one guy got through. Jury nullification. Don't kid yourselves. There are probably like 2 lawyers that are regular Redditors. But it's fun to pretend that we know things. I've never seen anyone sum up Ask Reddit or today I learned better than you just did right now. Burrito brother. In Australia, if you immediately contest the results of a breathalyzer test with police, you can go to a nearby hospital for a blood test within 1 hour of being tested. Can't drive yourself though. A friend was driven there, but on the way ate 2 12-inch subs and drank a liter of Gatorade. The result showed a significant enough difference between the reading and the blood test for it to be thrown out in court. I feel like this could be a commercial for a Gatorade Subway partnership. With our new breathalyzer meal TM, you can avoid an empty stomach and drunk driving fines. Awfully nice cops to give the guy 2 subs and a liter of Gatorade. Interesting loophole, you don't have to be a lawyer to impersonate one online. I'm no lawyer, but my favorite is fruit loopholes, they're delicious. In Scotland, the social work department can apply for a child protection order to take your kids off you whenever they want. In practice, the reasons they give for taking said kids aren't required to be backed up with evidence. 'Tis bullshit. They can't take our lives, but they can never take our children. Oh wait, they can. You're missing out that they can only remove the child for 8 days maximum. It's a short-term measure. In Australia, the postal rule regarding contracts is one that Australian courts seem to be unable to rid themselves of. A contract is made up of a number of things, but what makes it binding is when an offer is accepted. If a contract stipulates that acceptance can be communicated by letter, then acceptance occurs when the letter is placed in the mailbox, instead of when it is received. Hijinks ensue whenever the mail system loses letters somehow. Disasters, accidents, general mail system losing stuff. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.